The special called session of the Board of Trustees for the Spring Independent School District is officially called to order on Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, and the time is now 6:00 p.m. Trustees present are Trustee Hodges, Trustee Adams, Trustee Newhouse, Trustee Jensen, and myself, Trustee Durant. Both Trustee Correa and McDaniels are en route. I'd like to ask everyone to please turn off and silence your cell phones or any electronic devices. Our first item tonight is agenda participation. This item allows members of the public an opportunity to speak on agenda topics prior to them being considered by the board. Ms. Kinnerman, is there anyone signed up for agenda participation?
There's not this evening, President Durant.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for being here this evening. The board is going to move down from the dais and come join you in the audience. And so at this time, I'd like to, one, thank Region 4 for their support throughout this process and recognize Dr. Rudy Trevino from Region 4 who will facilitate this evening's meeting.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to let our board trustees, colleagues here, make their way over here, so we won't rush them much. But I do want to take the opportunity to do an introduction of myself and two of my colleagues that are in the room. But let me begin by saying thank you for being here. I've had the pleasure of leaning in and getting to hear that we have a few staff members here. We've got longtime volunteers in our schools here. We've got parents in the room, and I'd love to hear which other categories I'm missing. Is there another category of participants right now? What else do you represent? I heard grandma over here as well. Clergy, members of our clergy, thank you for being here. Any other categories?
I can help
Yes,
you
sir.
out a little bit.
Hey, former board member. Let's see who else is in the room.
We've got AFT, the Education Foundation, individuals from the community that were nominated by each board member, and then we took our Employee Excellence Awards that we get submitted to receive that award, and we selected from that staff, from maintenance, child nutrition, teachers, coordinators, from each level.
Thank you so much. So, all of that to say, we're all special and we all have great contributions to the process, but you're a significantly special group. So, wanted you to know that, and I wanted to also thank you for being here. It means the world to us to have input from different areas of the district. My name is Rudy Trevino. I will not take long in introducing myself, but I just gladly tell you I'm honored and blessed to be able to help with some facilitation of this superintendent search process at the request of the school board. My colleagues, Dolores is in the back, and my colleague Angel is up front. They will just be in the room taking notes and helping facilitate as well. One of our main goals is to be as less of a distraction to you all as we could possibly be. So please forgive them if they are not as involved in the process as you would be. One of the things I want to share is we all know our board members, and I hope you know them all, but there will be a time in which they will introduce themselves. But I wanted to share the why we're here, the purpose for us being here. It's to gather your feedback, to gather your guidance, and to lean over to you for the details of what we're looking for in a superintendent. The voices of each and every one of you, it's important. And I also want to reiterate the fact that I have to commend members of the board, individual members of the board, and the board as a collective group, because one of the things that they have clearly echoed to me is that they wanted people from outside of Spring ISD to help facilitate certain discussions that sometimes are not necessarily comfortable in having, and I give them a lot of credit for that. I have the privilege of also working with school boards throughout the state, and I can tell you that's not always the case where school boards want others to facilitate discussions. And if I can really highlight that, it's even more important when they want to be part of the community that they represent, because they are part of that community, which is very iconic in my worldview, to see them sitting with you, which is very important. It says a lot about the collective belief system that the board has in this process. So I won't spend a lot of time on this, but just want you to know the process that's being followed at the request of the board. If you're not familiar with it, there's feedback through surveying processes. There's feedback that the board is engaging with administration, with principals. There's feedback that they've charged us to help them with other data analysis of surveys, with one-on-one meetings with certain key players in the community, in the district, senior leaders, and things of that nature. So many, many great ways to be able to engage and get input from community members and stakeholders. So today, obviously, we're in the community stakeholder process. One of the things I want to early on front load as information to you is today you'll participate on a similar activity we're doing with the community as a whole. But on Monday of next week, Monday next week, I'm getting my days wrong. Monday next week, we would gather back and we will begin to analyze and evaluate the process as it pertains to what patterns we have found. We have a town hall meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Today and tomorrow, some of my colleagues and myself are doing one-on-one meetings with individuals. We will gather the information from this meeting. We'll have some things ready for you for Monday for us to review. And we'll have more of a working session, if I may, on Monday. Then today, you'll take part of the input gathering process. I hope, and there's no pressure because you all are volunteers. I hope that the same group is back on Monday, that we're not missing too many of our great participants here. But I also understand we may have some competing commitments. And we may also have some additional members that were invited to the process that couldn't make it today that will join us on Monday. We respect that, but we wanted you to know the flow of things, how things are moving. So today you will participate in an input gathering process. On Monday, you will help start narrowing down some of those patterns that we've identified, with hopes that at the next board meeting, we're also able to start sharing some of this to the overall public, and the board has more information that they can use and analyze in their process. Fair enough? You're probably also familiar with this. I also think it's important for us to ground ourselves on what Spring ISD believes in, not come into your home without the level of respect that this is who Spring ISD is, not just going to do the very respectful process of reading it out loud to all of us, okay? Spring Independent School District is a district of choice for high-quality academics with innovative and specialized programs that meet the needs of all students in a positive learning environment. That's the vision. The mission is Spring ISD prepares students to be lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and responsible citizens who display good character and are ready to contribute, compete, and lead in today's global society. The search process, it's entailed by several phases. We are in the profile process. We will advise the board on some of the things we're finding. They will go through a search process, a selection interview process, and with full transparency as they identify their next superintendent for Spring ISD. Here's the timeline they've identified that's also out in public. If you haven't seen it, I think it's important for at every meeting we address and bring to life the timeline that they have decided on to follow. So by August, the desired beginning date has not been set, but by August, they plan to have a superintendent. If you backwards plan from that, August 4th, the Spring ISD trustees will vote to hire a loan finalist. And between July 7th through 11th, item number 5 there, They will interview finalists, and they go through a screening process of candidates, all the way dating back to where we are in late May, where we are still in the input gathering process now. So if you have a colleague, family member, neighbor that's a board member, the next 3 months, they will be extremely busy with the number one job that they have as volunteers. It's to select the school superintendent, but I can tell you they're going to be really busy. They have always been. They definitely have been the last couple of weeks, and they will be extremely busy the next 3 months in an effort to select the best candidate for Spring ISD. So, you can always cheer them on or make sure they stay hydrated and healthy, because it's a long process. Today, we're all adults, and I can't thank you enough for being here. But it's always important to start with some norms, right? I will not disrespect anyone in here, but I would just say the norms are pretty standard. Let's just maintain a respectful space, stay on topic, and sometimes we'll have some limitations on time. Really, all that is that I'm trying to give you at least an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes to be able to share amongst yourself and share out. So trying to stay on topic and on time. So I have a way of gently leaning in or trying to regroup us. And I would just ask if you could respect that strategy as I begin to do it. It's to no offense to anyone. It's just a collective group needs to move on to the next topic so that we can make better use of the hour and 45 minutes that we'll spend together as I begin to transition back to you all. Fair enough. Any questions about that? Great. So we're going to start by putting our school board members on the spot already. How about that, huh? They're not going to share for a long period of time, so I also gently ask them to respect the fact that when I ask them to share something, they'd be brief and to the point. But I do want them to kind of model, and it's a way of us testing these microphones that are on the table as well. So they're going to model for you the engagement when we do report out. As you may have noticed, this is an official board meeting. They opened up the board meeting, and then at the end of my facilitation, I'll turn it back over to the board president, and they will close the board meeting. What that means, if you're not familiar with it, is that meetings are being recorded at times, so we need to be able to speak into a microphone. And it's more for the record type of purposes, right? For legal processes as well that we have to follow in public education institutions. So I'm going to ask the board if they can briefly share, since they were elected to the board, and we could also hear about an introduction from you if you don't mind. What are you most proud of? And I'm going to ask them to limit themselves individually to no more than 3 minutes, so I'll also gently ask them. And I don't know which way to go, so I'm going to start from left to right somehow. Maybe go here, back there, and then you all can share a little bit. But introduce yourself to the community, and what are you most proud of?
President of the board. I've been on the board a long time, and I'm just really proud of an opportunity to continue to be a part of the process in impacting the lives of our students. If we want to talk about a proud moment, I had one of the most proudest moments I've ever had last week at a board meeting. It was a special call session. And I took a picture with the president of the choir over at Spring High a few years back. And she said, "You're the president?" I said, "No, you're the president." And it gave me this amazing idea that I put together the president's leadership cohort. I wrote a curriculum with the 7 steps to successful leadership. Each board member had a topic. We did a 7-month program by identifying the presidents of the clubs at our high schools to be part of that cohort. And each board member had a chance to spend time, and we had 7 modules. So they presented on their experience around leadership on that topic. The kids were required to attend the 7 modules, attend a board meeting, and do a community service project. And our students shined in this room last week on their community service projects. They did trafficking. How many were there here tonight? It was so awesome. Three of the board members had tears in their eyes. They did safe team driving as one of their projects. The Westfield group said, how many of you know it's a assisted living facility across the street from our school? And they went over there at Christmas time, and she said when they were crossing the street, it was a rainy day, and there was a rainbow over the building, and she knew that that's what God was telling them they were doing the right thing. And they involved the band, and the choir sang Christmas carols, and the band, and they gave socks, and it was just so rewarding to see that come to life after 7 months, and to see our kids do such an awesome job in how they presented. And so the meeting was recorded, if you want to go back and look at it, but I think that was one of my most proudest moments, to see our students take on and become leaders and demonstrate how they can be leaders, and what an exceptional job they did with it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did I stay in with 3 minutes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you did. And President, want to acknowledge another board member that just joined?
I'd like to call for the record that Trustee Carmen Correa joined us at 6:17, and Trustee Newhouse, Trustee McDaniel joined us at 6:10. And as part of the Open Meetings Act, whenever we have a quorum, 4 or more of us, we have to conduct it like an official meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Trustee Rhonda Newhouse, and I tell you, I had an opportunity to brag this past weekend. I had visited another school district and attended the graduation. They had a beautiful facility, and I was impressed with the facility. They had 648 graduates on the stage, facing the audience, as well as the others who were there. But they started talking about the programs that they had and the amount of scholarships and things that they won. And I kept telling the lady next to me, oh, yeah, my district does that. And, oh, yeah, my district does that. And when they got through, I said, is that all? And she said, what do you mean? And so I started naming the programs and the different schools. I said, yeah, and what each one did. And we spread it out. And she's like, what district are you? I said, I'm in Spring ISD in Northwest Houston, out near the airport. And y'all even have barbering for the boys? I said, yes, we do. And Peter? I said, yes. And a new one that we're looking forward to, cybersecurity, is in our view. I said, it's not there yet. Cybersecurity, the only one that has that is in San Antonio, if I remember. I said, yes, we visited San Antonio. We know about their program, but we are working on it also. But to hear someone talk about their district and brag, she was so excited. But when I got through talking about mine, she said, we need to go back and relook at this. And she was actually one of the board members that I had met at our Round Rock conference that we attended there. So I'm very proud, and I think we should advertise more to our community. I don't think our community realizes all the different programs and opportunities that we have for our students to be successful. On top of our Emerge program, where our students are going to Harvard, Chicago, all the big name schools. So, knock on wood that Spring, you are nationally known.
Thank you so much for sharing. And for Trustee Correa, when we get to you, the question is, since being elected to the board, what are you most proud of? And we're staying within 3 minutes for each trustee to share. I believe I was making my way over here. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Natasha McDaniel. I don't know if it's what I'm most proud of. What the most recent point of pride that comes to mind is at our May board meeting. Again, thinking about our students, they shared about their experience advocating for public schools at the Capitol. They spoke to legislators about issues that impacted them. And so we started What we call the Student Governance Fellowship. We already have the Superintendent Advisory or Student Advisory Council every year. But this past year, a couple years, we piloted a program where there was more emphasis on student governance, on learning about local, state, and national elections, just understanding how policies impact them and how they can use their own voice to advocate so they can be more civically engaged. And so throughout, we brought in Raise Your Hand Texas, and they came each month and spoke with the students, taught them about how they can learn about policy. And so throughout that process, they created their own legislative priorities. As students, the communications team created a whole document that they then took up to Austin and gave out to legislators. They created their own talking points. They rehearsed in groups about what they were going to say. And legislators were blown away with the amount of information and knowledge that they had that spoke to the needs of Spring ISD. And I just to see the empowerment that they have from that experience, and some of them are even going into political science. And even if they're not, they now have a sense of, I'm a leader at whatever level I am. I'm a leader. So that was something that I was most proud of, just seeing them from August coming in, like what is a policy, to getting all the way to March and being at the stairs of the Capitol, armed with information, ready to speak to lawmakers and advocate for themselves and their peers. So that's one thing that I'm most proud of since joining the school board. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Would you like to go?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Winfred Adams. I've been on the school board now. This is my 8th year on the board. And it's maybe a bit selfish, but I had my proudest moment last June when my third of 6 children graduated from Westfield High School. And I got to hand her diploma on the stage with my mother watching us. So that was a big moment for my family. She has gone on to UT and been so well prepared at Westfield that her first semester she got straight A's. She's a math major who wants to be a math teacher. Slipped a little bit in the spring semester and got a B. But still, I'm very proud of how she was prepared to excel at UT in a very rigorous math program.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name's Carmen Correa. There's a lot of things to be proud of. One of the things that comes to mind is the opportunities that this district and this school board has afforded me in experiences in visiting schools and conferences. The development as a trustee has been so amazing here. And to echo Trustee Newhouse's sentiments, going and talking to other school districts and finding out the programs that they have, it's the same story. Oh, we have that, and we have so much more. And so it feels good to be a part of something that's just a district that's doing so much good out there. One thing that I'm really proud of, and I actually did not get to participate in it, but was when our board went to present on a national stage our Building Bridges and Table Talks format that we use. That's such a huge thing. And this is, I'm sure I just stole this from Kelly over here. But it's something that even Natasha and I had talked about when we first came out. We were like, how do we reach out to the community? And so to see all that come to life and people ask me, how did you guys do that? And be able to explain how we do it is pretty amazing. Last thing, and this is more of like mischievous pride, my son kept seeing our picture come across his computer at school, and he's like, Mom, I'm so tired of seeing that. Can you guys take it off there? So that's it.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Trustee Kelly P. Hodges, and I am serving my 3rd year of my 2nd term. So I'm actually up for re-election. in November. Wow, I can't believe it's. I started during COVID, so there was a lot that I didn't get to do, and so I've been definitely more engaged since we're back in the schools and things like that. I am most proud of being a voice for the community. As an elected official and as trustee, Durant always talks about, our pay is to see the joy from the community and from our kids, because this work is not for the faint at heart at all. And so I'm also very proud of you all as community members and for your advocacy and the hard work that you put in, not only as parents, community members, but also some of you are staff and are working in the school system. So those are things that make me proud to see the impact that we're making. I do see a difference. And also to echo the sentiments of Trustee Newhouse, we definitely have to do a better job. And I'm a communications background, communications and marketing, and I know the marketing department, I probably get on their nerves, but I'm always texting saying, hey, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? When I see certain things, because I do spend a lot of time talking about all of our programs and services, because the community, a lot of people don't know, and I think about how are we missing the mark? Like, what is it that we're not doing to where all the programs and services we have are not resonating with the community? So it's discussions like this that give us where we're able to get feedback from you all, and then be able to carry that on with the work that we do as trustees. So I thank you all for being here, and thank you for the work that you're doing as well.
Okay. Hi, I'm Debbie Jensen, and I've been on the board for a long time, not quite as long as Justine, but we've known each other for a long time. And I've been listening to all kinds of things I'm proud of. I'm proud of my fellow trustees, but I got to tell you, the thing that really gets me out of bed and gets me to board meetings and everything else is seeing students and what they can do. And I know we have problems, and we're working on problems, but in the meantime, kids are doing tremendous things. And I'm not going to go through everything, but because I got 2 minutes and 20 seconds. But I'd like to highlight 3 things that I remember recently. One was I was at a football game at the stadium, and of course I saw athleticism and wonderful things, and the band sounded wonderful, and I thought I'd seen all the things that kids could do. And then I found out that the people who were running all the big presentations on the board were not just high school students, but also middle school students. And that was just phenomenal to me. That I thought we had to have a professional grown-up crew. So that was amazing to me. Another one was I got to see a robotics competition this year. And I guess the one that thrilled me the most were the elementary kids, because they had a Lego robot and it was doing different tasks, and sometimes it wouldn't do the task. And those kids went in and fiddled and fixed it. And I'm telling you, having been married to an engineer for 57 years, let me tell you, that's engineering, because they always build something until they break it. And then they fix it and build it better and, redesign. And they were so excited, and they were saying, we needed more time with this. And I was telling people, no kid says, I need more worksheets. But they really wanted to work with that robot. The last thing is, I'm a former science teacher. And I go to the GT projects, demonstrations and displays and so on. And I see a lot of volcanoes and things like that. And I always ask the kids, so what are those bubbles? What kind of gas are in those bubbles? And I'd say half the kids didn't know. And then at this last GT workshop, it was a little kid. And he had a neat, he'd made bubble lamps, okay? And I said, so what are those bubbles? And he knew it was carbon dioxide. And I thought, we're looking up here in the district. So that's what I wanted to share. Oh, and I made it.
I'm telling you, I can't stop bragging about the trustees. They did so well. They all stayed on the 3 minutes and they did an outstanding job. But I also want to make sure that I drive in this point. Board members are in community with the community and they represent you. But it's also important to every so often allow them to have their own voice in the community. So I thought that was very important for us. Now, they have asked me to make sure we listen to you all. So the majority of this is going to be about you, but I wanted to take a moment to make sure that you knew all the trustees and you heard from them. It's also important to understand the amount of time they dedicate as volunteers to serve you all, to serve the students. So that's extremely important for us to remind ourselves of. I have to take a point of privilege before I move on to the next section here, because I'd like to ask if Trustee Correa could help identify one member of that table back there to move over to the front over here, because I have a colleague as part of this group, and I'd like to at least create the right type of group. So maybe y'all can paper, rock, scissors it back there, whichever category you want to do, and at least one member to move up to the front to this table. Someone was just voluntold to come over here. All right? Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot. Whoever that was, you got voluntold. Right over here. She didn't hear you, but you know what? Next move, we'll call on her. Over here, sir, if you don't mind. Right over here. That's all it is. Didn't pick on you or anything like that. We're just trying to balance out the number of people here. Well, thank y'all so much. We'll move on now. And if someone else shows up, we'll gladly move them to, well, here we go. There you go. So now we will talk amongst the tables, amongst your colleagues there. And the topic we'd like to bring up is, what are some of the successes that you want the new superintendent to honor and support? So this will be very fluid. You share it with your group, and then eventually we will get into sharing out and documenting some of that. But for the first question, I'd like for you to just get comfortable enough to share amongst yourself. We'll give you about 5 minutes, and the question again is, what are some of the successes that you want the new superintendent to honor and support? All right, I'm going to try to bring us to some closure so you can finish your conversation. We're going to try to bring a little bit of closure here. The most difficult thing for a facilitator or a great teacher is to stop the level of engagement and discussion. So sometimes you see me do this here. Sometimes you'll see me just kind of start raising my voice. But that's the most challenging thing when you're a facilitator or a teacher, is to stop great discussions that are happening. But for the sake of honoring the time and the process, we would like to enter into a sharing out process. You don't all have to go, but we're going to try this first round by asking one of my colleagues. Angel is going to actually scribe for us here, but you're welcome to share. The trustees are at your table. I've noticed some of the trustees, another compliment, they've kind of assumed the role of facilitating alongside me, which is, I love it. I love it. The Papa Bear, the Mother Hen, I love it. I love it. Keep doing that. And they'll probably also show you how to press a button so you can also be heard. But listen, I love it all. So if you are going to share, just simply press the button and they'll show you, they'll be able to help you. They've been doing this for a while. But if you would please kindly share, and to do a little bit of a process check, is what are some of the successes that you want the superintendent to honor and support?
Well,
So,
let's see. I guess I'll go first. One of our participants mentioned what he would like to see is that teacher and campus leadership are acknowledged by the superintendent. And I'd also like to add that not only our teachers and campus administrators, but our police department, our tax office, our facilities, and that when the superintendent goes in, that there's acknowledgement and appreciation for the individuals that do the work. Did I capture that? Okay.
Thank you so much. The work is already challenging, so acknowledging and recognizing them. Yes.
For me, I would like for the new superintendent to honor and support and try to find funding for the pre-K-3 program. I've had the experience of the pre-K-3 program in the Winship school, elementary school, and I just can't stress enough the importance of having that start. My grandson is not the same kid that I dropped off in September of last year, because he started late. I just cannot believe the difference, him using complete sentences. And he told me today, he says, "Nan, I asked you a question." And I'm thinking, did he really just say that? He is 4 years old. And I'm thinking, I can't believe he's talking to me like this compared to before. And my sister can attest to this, the pointing and, we don't know what that is. You need to talk to us. So his communication definitely changed. Math is his favorite subject. He knows every color, every number, every alphabet. So I'm just really advocating for that program to really, really grow. It's important that it does.
Great, thank you for sharing. Early childhood, pre-K programs.
one of the things that we discuss is the community engagement piece, that we want the superintendent to continue, the new superintendent to continue with how we have established certain programs and, like, avenues like this for the community to have that level of engagement. And then also, with the departmental collaborations, continue to build on that and strengthen that, and increase the support of the departmental collaborations.
Towards the back.
So we also talked about our great community engagement. In addition, though, we love that we've been awarded some phenomenal grants this year. And so we would like our new superintendent to honor the fact that we are out there actively applying and earning some really good grants. We also love the success of our innovative programs, our high quality programs. And so we're really hoping that the next superintendent will continue on allowing us to be innovative in the programs that we're offering our students.
We discussed there are quite a few incredible things that are going on in spring. We would hope that our new superintendent would honor the achievements of our students. We have kiddos doing great things, and we talked about the fine arts. We have incredible music accolades that have been awarded to our students. Our students are going on to do great things at the post-secondary level in the fine arts. And not to mention just recently, but Spring ISD has a long history of achieving statewide and nationwide accolades in music, theater, dance, visual arts. So, we would hope that our new superintendent would acknowledge that and would recognize that and gravitate toward it and support it and build it and be a voice for our fine arts kiddos and be a champion for the arts and continue that and keep that going.
At our table, I heard someone say, no. We'd like the superintendent to continue to honor and support our education foundation that we have, and building those relationships and knowing that they're there not just to collect and things like that from staff, but also relationships of what they can produce and provide for us. And also with athletics and just in our just watching ours grow. I'm a 98 alumni and 22 years coaching here. And I just love what our athletics does for our programs. And I would love for our superintendent to make sure to keep that and also a priority and being able to build relationships and seeing all that it provides for us in our communities and why our students go and attend and want to be building those relationships.
Anyone else would like to share? All right, you guys are awesome. Yes, go ahead.
So, our original topic has already been discussed, but in addition to all of the other great things that we would also like for our new superintendent to still realize and recognize and support Spring AFT, because Spring AFT, even though we are a union, we're really not. We're just regular people trying to advocate for everyone, and we want our new superintendent to embrace that.
There's a question as to what it stood for. It's the American Federation of Teachers, AFT. Okay.
I did. Someone, our table also mentioned they would like to see the new superintendent increase the student or maintain the superintendent student advisory committee and kind of expand that and make it more robust for the students. I thought that was a good one.
I want to echo that. Normally, it's Trustee McDaniel that does the student voice piece. I'm sort of her co-pilot on that the importance of hearing our students is the primary consumers of this thing that we're supposed to be doing, and elevating their voice and hearing their voice. I also want to put a nod in, and this, we didn't discuss this, but as I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's rough in education right now in terms of what the legislature looks like. So I think the superintendent has to be somebody who can cultivate relationships with our legislators, particularly, especially the legislators that we don't get along so well with. It's going to be important that we can reach out and have some sort of way to position ourselves to get support from the legislature.
If I may, I would like to just say one other point. We talked about our superintendent being involved in the community. We have an incredible family and community engagement department in our school district, and they have so many programs, and we have so much outreach that's here, our education foundation. But we want our leader to be a conduit of information and of relationship between our community and our students. A lot of our community members, they don't know all the great things that are going on in our district. A lot of people in our district are kind of are maybe disconnected from other parts of our community. We're a huge school district. So we would want our leader to kind of keep their hand on the pulse of what's going on in the community, and as well as in all of our schools, and interact directly with everybody.
Awesome. Go ahead.
We need to support our volunteers. You know, I'm a 40-plus year volunteer. There are a lot of good volunteers, people that can volunteer in the district. Maybe go to some of the senior citizen homes and see if they want to come read books to the kids in the libraries. You know, that kind of stuff.
Well, thank you all for sharing. And Angel cannot write fast enough. But know that what we're doing is they're recorded meetings, so we go back and we look for patterns as well. But she is doing a phenomenal job at capturing all of this. So Angel will be moving throughout the room, so you wouldn't be bothered by the fact that we may shift our attention to another part of the room there. Well, I think we were able to pretty much understand the process here a little bit, right? And the clicker's not working, so how about that? Maybe just lead me to the next slide there. Let's see. There you go. The next question that we would discuss in our groups is, what can the new superintendent do to improve student outcomes? What can the superintendent do to improve student outcomes? Let me give you a little bit of a precursor to why this question is important. The school board goes through a significant amount of training to always focus on outcomes. And they probably have done a lot of their training on this. And most importantly, to focus on student achievement, student outcomes. So we would spend about 5 minutes, same process, discussing in our tables. But what can the new superintendent do to improve student outcomes in Spring ISD? right, we're gonna try to regroup, so if you could finish your statements, finish your conversations there. All right, we are going to follow the same process. If you noticed, Angel moved over to this side, so just want to make sure I drew the attention to Angel as she's scribing. But what can the new superintendent do to improve student outcomes? And we will allow for the microphone to be turned on and honor the process and the airway. Right in the back.
Okay. We said share accurate, true data, better training on curriculum and consistency and application across the board, more opportunities to share between campuses, including the struggles and successes for student outcomes, and weekly check-ins and better support for all teachers. Share accurate.
Here, oh, go ahead. Go ahead. The second one.
Oh, the second one? Better training on curriculum and consistency and application across the board. I forgot she was writing.
There's a table in the middle with the microphone on. Just want to be able to honor. I feel like I'm at, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to go next or not, sir. Yes, go ahead.
One of the things that we talked about at our table was the superintendent supporting student safety. If you have a type of situation where, we have our own in-house police department, and nowadays a lot of agencies are outsourcing, a lot of school districts are outsourcing other agencies, but we have our own in-house department. And so continue to pour into the department where we provide a safety net for the students, and where they know they're in a safe place, where they can produce better outcomes. So you have a student who feel like they have an opportunity to go and speak to their campus officer, or we continue to support the things that are put in place now for like the Let's Talk or the anonymous tip line and things of that nature, where we give our students a voice to speak on safety and give us, I'm a sergeant for the department, and we've gotten a lot of good information from these type of platforms, so we've been able to stop some things before they even allow it to happen. So support in that area, I think, is going to be big as well. And if a student is not necessarily worried about their safety at the campus, or hey, is something going to happen to me, then that'll give the teacher the better opportunity to reach out to that student, because their mind is more focused on learning and not what's going to happen as far as the safety net or safety problem.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Lord.
Over in the back.
Okay. We discussed, to stop looking at the student as a number or a dollar sign, to engage the whole student, find out why that student is acting out. Maybe there's problems at home. Maybe they're having an issue with another student on that campus. I do understand the students being on the campus in the seat during ADA time is how the district makes money, but they're more than just a number. They're a person, and we have to teach the whole student.
Would you like to go? No? Oh. I see the microphone on. That's the only reason why.
I'll yield to
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, my name is Cyrus Johnson, and one of the things I want to say is that the new superintendent, well, let me just say this first. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people will perish. We need to have a superintendent who has a clear vision of where he or she may want to take this district. We don't need a superintendent sitting in the penthouse and not coming down in the weeds, dealing with the grassroots. An example, Barack Obama in 2008 won the election as President of the United States. He ran the most disciplined election in the history of this country. But what his campaign did was they got out in the middle of the country. They were disciplined. They got to the grassroots, and they won the election. We need a superintendent who's not afraid to work, who's got a vision, who's willing to do some of that. Teachers are the most important part of this district. I'm a big advocate for teachers. But also, we as parents have a great responsibility at home to make sure that the teachers are not just being babysitters. if they're having to deal with all kind of issues that the kids bring into the school, they can't teach, they can't get our kids to be who they need to be. And so we need to also have a superintendent to understand those kinds of issues. I think it's very important that we listen to the teachers and the principals. They have great knowledge and great ideas. No, they don't know everything. And yes, sometimes they may complain about things that they're not getting. But they are between me and my daughter and what happens to my daughter in the future. And if we don't have a superintendent that understands that has a vision for trying to make that work, yes, get him or her out in the community. And I think we need somebody who's willing to make changes sometimes, who's not afraid to make those changes. I think it's very important that we truly, and I'm just going to say this for the last time, listen to the teachers. That superintendent needs to be able to connect with those teachers and hear what they're saying. A lot of times those teachers don't feel like they're being heard. My wife has been a part of the PTO for as long as I can remember. And as we go sometimes to those PTO meetings, sometimes I hear the principals, I hear the teachers and some of the things that they're hoping for, but they never get because they don't believe somebody's listening to them. So that's important for that superintendent and that superintendent's team to make sure that they're listening to those teachers and those principals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we talked about, which is good, I'm going after him. We kind of talked about having a superintendent that's not afraid to make some good trouble, particularly as it relates to student outcomes. And with that, the superintendent needs to be able to identify leaders who will lead, be creative, and innovative in the classroom so we can get the desired outcomes. And also, the superintendent, in making good trouble, should not be afraid to make the hard decisions as it relates to putting individuals in those leadership roles that will, particularly in those departments, for example, in SPED, areas that need improvement, to be able to make those changes across the board when they come in, and definitely, will definitely shake some things up because unfortunately sometimes we're used to doing things the way we always did it, and that's really, we can't continue to do the same things in this district and expect different results.
Thank you for sharing. Go ahead.
We talked a little bit about where student outcomes improve, where achievement improves, is starting at the basics, and that's engaging the students with what's going on in the classroom. But we're not only talking about the students, we're talking about the teachers. We're talking about re-engaging some of the teachers and the leaders that you were talking about. And this starts at the top, and then it works itself down, all the way down into pre-K and elementary classrooms. It's a professional learning community that includes the volunteers. It includes different organizations that are there to support the schools. And it's all about engaging students. When you walk into a classroom, especially in a high school classroom, and you can see the students that aren't engaged, so they're not going to get the learning that they need. And we're not blaming it on the teachers. There's no one to blame. We need to work together to make sure that we boost that. Everyone wants to be recognized. They want to have a team. They want to have a group. They want someone to be proud of them. So, talk a little bit about what you were going to add.
We're also talking about having a superintendent that knows our community, that reaches out and for our families that are looking at homes and where to be, where to live, and those things, are just knowing our community, knowing our schools, knowing our families, and knowing what they need. And I feel like our superintendent needs to know that, and just ways to improve it and give our students will have an improvement on their outcomes if we know that they are valued but parents and families, they're going through so much in our community that they know when they're at school, they're gonna succeed. And knowing that a superintendent can come in and know who they are when they walk in and acknowledge them is super key. And it's not just the students, but also, again, families to know that they are welcome, that this is their home. And that's something that's very, very valuable, that we're asking for the next superintendent to bring.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
So as part of Lone Star governance, when we start talking about student outcomes, one of the primary tenets of Lone Star governance is in order for student outcomes to improve, adult behaviors must change. And then the second corollary to that is the first adult behavior that has to change is my adult behavior. Right? And so what I'm looking for is, so I work for the Harris County Department of Education, and so since this opening came up, I get it all the time from my colleagues about, what are y'all doing about your superintendent in spring? And I hear how hard it is in spring. I don't believe it's hard in spring. I think if we want to improve student outcomes from our kids, we have to first of all expect high student outcomes from them. And require that every adult in our system expect and demand high student outcomes. That starts with the community, filters down to the board, filters down to the superintendent, to everybody that's in our system. If we walk into it thinking it's hard because it's spring for some mysterious reason, we've already failed. So.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll bring that up. So I would like to give a short story about my child. I have two kids that goes to Spring ISD. Their mom homeschooled them for a long time. I wasn't satisfied with their level of homeschool education. But when they went into the public school system, I was pissed off. And I'm going to try not to offend teachers because I love you. And I think you are the cornerstone and the foundation of society. But my at the time, 6-year-old came home and she started using words like finna. And that's finna. So like, I'm finna do this and finna do that. And I think education starts with modeling. So I think modeling from the superintendent down through the teachers, trickling down to students is very important. So this concept of modeling. Number two that I would like to talk about is, and that kind of goes hand in hand with that, is rigorous curriculum. I've received like maybe 20 or so messages reminding me of not sending the kids to school with backpacks. And the days that I went to school, up until the last day after we took tests, after we were done with all our state tests and everything else, we had constructive activities, such as whether you were planting trees or learning how to grow crops or what's that other thing, acting out novels. And that helps build a well-rounded student. There's no reason why my 13-year-old is telling me, oh, I don't want to go to school because it's just boring and I'm just sitting here and I'm not doing anything. For 3 weeks, I think robust curriculum need to eliminate this non-productive time.
Thank you for sharing it, sharing so personal, such a personal story as well. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Nicole Johnson, and this is something that's a little personal to me. I believe the student outcomes can actually be improved. This district really invests in different softwares, different apps. One of the things I think we all need to understand is that technology is the future, whether we want it to be or not. And we need to make better investments in this district, I believe, only because of the the things that I've seen with my daughter and heard from other students in this district and teachers and administrators. The one thing is this. This is my example. When you start a software, let's say with your computer or anything, sometimes you use the free trial version, which means you only have limited access to that software. If we chose to do better research on the front end and actually see what other districts may be using, sometimes other districts use the same software that we use, and if it's not good, they go to something else. I think that should be a red flag if we're using something that no one else will use. Secondly, if we're going to use the software, buy the entire version. There's a benefit to using the entire version so that all of the benefits that the students and the teachers and administrators are supposed to get from this app or from this software that can actually benefit the kids at the end when it comes to STAR, when it comes to MAP, when it comes to all these different tests that they're supposed to be taking. If this software is supposed to help them on their TEKS, the TEKS, you know, that's all I hear is TEKS. You know, this one, they have to do this, they have to improve in this. But if we are spending our money, our tax dollars, on software and apps to help our students, we need to do better with what we choose and how we choose it. There was another meeting that I was in, an optimization meeting. I believe it was, I want to say earlier this month, if not the end of last month. And there was, and I'm trying to remember what the actual name of the software was, but we were able to get a grant for the software. My question is, did you get the software because there was a grant? And did you know about the grant before or after? Did that encourage you to get the software because we did get a grant, because that's how we paid for it? Was that actual software something that we should have been going after to begin with? Had it been vetted? Who was it vetted by? At some point, we have to sit back and say, follow through and think about what we're spending our money on. One of the things that I've heard as a parent volunteer, some of the parents, and this is not directed to anyone in this room, but this is what the parents are saying that I talk to. Some of the monies are not being utilized or being mismanaged. I don't believe they're being mismanaged. I believe at some point we just need to make smarter decisions on what we do. I know that we are trying to do what's best for teachers and students and administrators, but better investments mean more research and follow through. And so for me and the actual administrators that I've actually talked to, there's a time frame when we use certain software. Commit to a certain time. Don't just use it 1 year, maybe 2 years and quit, because you're not getting out of it what I believe the money that you're putting into it. Give it time to work, but use the entire version.
Thank you so much. Sure.
And something else that I would like to see the new superintendent do to improve student outcome is to be more of a data-driven community. And if we're going to become a data-driven community, it's not like, oh, you're data-driven. You got to really show people what that's going to look like, feel like. And in order for that to really take place, staff need to know day one what data we're going to be driven by. For instance, I don't want to hear in April, oh yeah, it's going to be MAP BOY. No, it's going to be iReady BOY. No, we're going to change it to STAR. You know, tell me in September so that way we can work towards those end goals. And the misconception is people go, well, no, they start to teach a test. No, you teach the skill. And if you're teaching the skill, the data is going to drive whether or not the skill is being taught. Because from a district level, y'all can send tests out that we've never saw yet. And so that's what I would like to see this superintendent really embrace. And I think the outcome is just going to organically happen.
That's why you need to listen to the teachers.
That's right. Over in the far back. Yes, go ahead.
So just to piggyback off of our last two speakers, I would say that knowing that we're at a place where there needs to be some changes, for the new superintendent to be able to really take a look at the big picture, because our district, in some areas, we do have high turnover. And so what sometimes happens, and I think we have this habit of new staff coming in and saying, well, this worked over here for us, so let's go ahead and change. But what we have might have been working, it just needed a little bit more time. So really taking the time to dive in and really look at the numbers and the data to see if what we have is working, and we just need to support the teachers a little bit more instead of off the hand saying, oh, this curriculum doesn't work, we need to go ahead and change it, or this technology isn't working, let's go ahead and change it. We're not giving the programs enough time. So just to really take that time to do the research and not be afraid to tell this new person, hey, slow down. Let's slow down and take a deeper look.
That's great insight.
I wanted to add something too, something that I thought of as I was sitting here listening to everybody. And it reminds me of my church. Something that I would like to see the new superintendent do is find a way to make it feel smaller for the kids. You know, I go to a really large church, and that's one of the things that they focus on is the life groups, trying to make a big church feel a lot smaller. And so I'd like to see something like that here in the district for the students and the staff as well, too, because we are a very large district, and it's easy to feel like you just get lost in the system. So.
That's great. Anyone else? Any other groups, tables? Yes? Or go ahead. Or I'm still in the far back. I think they're passing the mic.
Yes, I think for the go back on improved student outcomes, like we said earlier, you have to embrace technology. And everyone was saying about, the gentleman over there about his student don't want to go to school, this and that. I have a 4th grade GT student who's like, Mama, I'm done. As opposed to capitalizing on technology. When we talk about GT, it's no way our students should still be going to GT expos with trifles. When you see other districts, they're having them innovative, using technology, using Canva, they're using YouTube, they're content creators. We have to meet our students where they are in terms of technology. And it hurts my heart when I have a 4th grade child who's very innovative, but when she's looking at her friends in other districts and they're posting to their content on YouTube, they're being creative on Canva, her classmates are making trifles and posters. We made trifles and posters in the 80s, the 70s, the 90s. Why our kids are not using technology? We are behind time, but we are ahead of times of what Spring ISD has to offer. But it has to come from the top to the bottom, technology, and it starts with our students. This class right here of my child, she was pre-K COVID. So this y'all pre-K kids, they're going to 5th grade now. We was teaching them how to use technology. They use more technology in COVID as pre-K 4-year-olds than they're using now as 4th graders. And it shouldn't have digressed. It should have been technology driven. We are an AI technology world. Kids are using AI, we're using technology, but we still want them to use a trifold and a poster. That's not going to get it. That's not going to get it. If we're trying to have innovative, forward thinking, and as you said, these last 4 weeks of school, our kids should have been making all types of creative projects using technology, like out of this world, but they're not.
I know we're moving on. Are there lights still? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
When I hear student outcomes, I think it's important that we know what outcomes we're talking about. In my mind, when you say student outcomes, I'm thinking student achievement, improving attendance, improving student behavior. these are some of the outcomes that we look at. And I want to ask a question. Have you ever had something wrong with your car and you take it to the mechanic and you tell the mechanic, hey, this is what I'm experiencing with my car. I know this is wrong. The AC is not blowing, blah, 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 blah. And then the mechanic, because they're the mechanic and they know cars, they start to tell you about everything they know and everything they can diagnose. And they start to diagnose your car and you say, but wait a minute, that's not what I was experiencing. They say, no, let me finish. And they keep telling you about the car. And you, because you trust them as the mechanic who is supposed to know what they're talking about, you leave your car with them and you let them work on it. And then when you get the car back, it's still broken. If you've ever had that experience, I want to go back to, and I want you to hear it from a staff member who I was in the classroom for almost 2 decades before I went into administration. When you hear a community member say, listen to the teachers, when teachers are telling you what they're experiencing in the classroom, don't say, thank you for telling us, and then go hire a think tank to do a study. Don't go pay $1 million to do a study and then find out that what was really wrong was actually what the teacher was telling you in the first place. And we don't want our teachers to feel like we're not hearing them. Listen to them. Help them. If it's something that they need coaching on or something that they need to improve, you know, we have the resources and we have the capability to help them provide those resources. But they are the content experts in that classroom. And teachers need to be able to stand up in a classroom and teach without being interrupted. They need to be able to feel safe. I'm saying teachers need to be able to feel safe coming to work. Chronic absenteeism among teachers is very high because we have teachers that are burnt out. We have teachers that tell us that I don't feel safe coming to work because of some of the things they experience in the classroom. And these are hard conversations to have. So as a new superintendent coming in, it's important that the leader comes in and that they have enough humility to know that even though I'm the mechanic, my teachers just might be telling me what's really happening in the classroom. And maybe we need to listen to the teachers and support our teachers. It's very, very important. I think we need to keep that at the forefront of who we select as a superintendent. We need to have a superintendent that listens to teachers.
Thank you. I'm going to take one more comment. I'm going to take one more comment. I'm going to shift a little bit, okay? Because great discussions oftentimes lead to the facilitator to go a bit deeper and or shifting a little bit. So I'm going to allow one more comment, if you don't mind, and then I'm going to do something that was not scripted that I think it's important right now. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Nicole Johnson. I forgot to say that the first time. Actually, one of the things that I heard at the last meeting that I was at, it was a teacher, and it kind of goes back to what this gentleman was saying. This new teacher of 2 years, I believe, she did not know that there was a mentor program for the new teachers. And so her background, she has a military background. She has, this was, I think, her second year here in spring. I don't know if she's taught before, but she was an exemplary person just by conversation. And so my reason for saying this is when you listen to the teachers and you know that they need help navigating their way through a new district. Yes, the teaching part of the teaching aspect is somewhat the same throughout. The processes may be different, but when you come to a new district, you want the teachers to feel, number one, that they can actually voice their concerns or their needs, and somebody is there to listen. So that's why this mentor program, I believe, needs to be marketed more, something that needs to be in the forefront when you hire new employees. I've always said that if you help the teacher to help the student, there are better outcomes. So for students to have better outcomes, the person that's teaching them needs to have that support system. So just the superintendent, I believe, needs to put a little bit of emphasis on helping the new teachers through the learning curve, but even those that are veterans, there's always something new to learn, and there's always ways that we need to adjust. So just for that alone, mentors are very, very important, not just for students, but for teachers as well.
Well, thank you so much. I'd like to just take a point of privilege and shift just a little bit. So we're going to spend another 5 minutes on this topic because look at the amount of information we captured. And that's me asking to stop the discussion. So 5 minutes in the group, back to the group, discussing what resonated to you that you haven't had a chance to discuss with us as a group, but you can share amongst your group. Meaning, what, if any of these items really pulled a heartstring or resonated with you, and share among your group for just another 5 minutes, please. No, that's the bomb. All right, we have 1 more minute, so try to wrap up your conversations. 1 minute. All right, we're gonna try to regroup here. I definitely, I definitely felt that, not only was there was an increase in sharing when the discussion on student outcomes came up, but there was also a read of a lot of passionate, sharing out. So I felt that it was important for us to hit a pause button and you to discuss amongst your group. Student outcomes are, in the arguments of many, the reason why we exist. And I wanted to commend Trustee Adams for kind of drilling in the point on some of the trainings that they've gone through, that we are the genesis of transformation when we look at student outcomes. So thank you for being passionate about that. I'm going to move us on to some other sections, but I wanted to acknowledge the observation I made of how some of you are speaking from the heart, and from the heart as it pertains to what you're seeing students, school cultures, teachers go through, that I think it's very important for us to always have a candid conversation about. But I'd like to move on so that we can respect the process as well. So the next question we have is, what challenges do you think our district is currently facing that the new superintendent should be aware of? What challenges is the district facing that the new superintendent should be fully aware of? And we'll do the same process, 5 minutes for you to address the question, and then we'll try to perhaps limit the sharing out, but moving us along, we'll share out a bit. So what challenges do you think our district is facing that the superintendent should be fully aware of? All right, if you could try to wrap your conversations up a little bit. All right. Thank you all so much. This time I had the opportunity to walk around and listen, lean in on some of the conversations, and you all are awesome people. You're God sent to be able to be part of this input process. So the question was, what challenges do you think our district is currently facing that the new superintendent should be fully aware of? And I may limit the time on this one, but I do want to hear from you, and Ms. Angel's also writing this down. So what challenges should we be making the new superintendent fully aware of?
I guess we can go. Well, the last one we talked about was the financial status. So that the district is in the negative and has a lot of budget constraints. So holistic safety of students and kids was another one. And my big one is student retention. Just making sure that you can actually graduate every kid, or the most that you can. And lastly, communication of the things that the district have to offer. So whether it's events or certifications and stuff like that, kind of to reach every kid.
Thank you. Just to clarify, student retention being too high?
So student retention need to be front and center. So it needs to improve. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. All right, over in the back.
Okay, ours, challenges to be aware of. The first thing we said is literacy, that a lot of our kids don't know how to read when they're getting to high school. So getting to the foundation of literacy, going back to some of the basics, literacy. The next one we said was student discipline. Student discipline is definitely a challenge, and as well as supporting the teachers with classroom management and just going back to really supporting the teachers. And a big two that our table kept talking about, having a superintendent with challenges, holding people who you put in certain leadership roles, holding everyone accountable, accountability, but as well as transparency. Be honest with us. Transparency. Everything doesn't have to be sugar coated. Keep it real, as they said at the table. Keep it real. Let us know what we're facing.
Thank you. Over in the back.
I'm sure other members of my table is going to kind of jump in on this, but it was a statement that was made that I think we really need to focus on. The first thing that we need to make sure that our superintendent is aware of is everything that is either up under the rug or behind the curtain. If there's something that is out there, it's being populated on the web. So bring that first and foremost. Don't try to hide it from him, because it's going to come out, maybe not on day one or the first, 100 days, but definitely in those first 6 months, you're going to have an issue. It happened with our last really great superintendent that we had here. He stood up and took ownership of it. But we need to make sure that whatever that's hidden and uncovered all comes to the light. Whatever's in the darkness is going to come to the light eventually. We need to focus on, yes, the low literacy, but all of our low scores, all of the low attendance that we have. But most importantly, in my opinion, we need to start raising the engagement that we have. We have teachers that, from what I'm hearing, are, afraid to come in because of the issues that exist, with the students that are there. And we will protect that student number on the books, but we're going to turn around and we're going to lose a great teacher that's going to be able to influence hundreds of more students that are there. And that's not what we're all looking for. I would gladly lose that one bad student to keep that one teacher that makes a difference in all of our lives. Every one of us that are here right now are here because a teacher made a difference in our lives.
Can I piggyback off? I'm sorry. And it's not just the teachers. Okay. I mean, I don't take anything away from the teachers. I think they're absolutely wonderful. I could not do what they do. But the paraprofessionals, they are the backbones. Without that, cause I'm sorry, I did work as a paraprofessional on one of the campuses, but they do a lot of what the teachers don't do. So they should be listened to. They should be brought to the table as well. You know, invite them to the conversation. Let them be heard. Because I know I was working with special education students on a campus, and I was called a liar when I brought something to attention, and I never spoke up again. So if I experienced that, imagine what other paraprofessionals experienced, and then the teachers. You know, I worked with a teacher who was assaulted by a student. The student went to Richie, and then when he came back to campus, he was brought back into her class. How do you think that she felt, you know, having to teach the rest of the school year with that student in her class? I just want to bring up one more thing. Also, I think the superintendent should also utilize some of our administration that, you know, we have our PVA people, you know, CTE athletics in the hiring process. The principals do not utilize them. They'll ask for teachers to fill a spot, and then they go and hire someone else not qualified to teach that content. They hire a babysitter basically, and then say that they never got any help. And that's not fair to those that are qualified to help you fill that position. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I've got a table right here and then another one up front.
Hi, I'm Jason Moore. Basically, everybody's saying some of the same things. We're talking about financial, but the main thing we're talking about is teachers feeling safe. A lot of the students, teachers don't feel comfortable coming to school as far as like the bus drivers you were mentioning earlier. And like the students, some of the students feel that they don't feel comfortable coming to school and they want to get out of it because they don't feel safe. So we're realizing that that's a big issue that us need to focus on, like making it a safe environment for the students. I think it's the main thing. And then as far as like teachers, not teachers, but parents being engaged, we're talking how like in an elementary level, how the parents, they come to all the meetings, they come to all the PTA meetings, but then something happens when it goes into like middle school where their support is not there. So like bridging that gap between the teachers and the actual parents and communicating with each other and not always like make it as a situation where they have to take it to an administrative problem where they can work and support each other to work these situations out. They can feel like that they're more involved, the parents can, by actually working and listening to the teachers, as the brothers said, are here. And I think that's the main deal right there.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
I brought to the attention of my table the fact that I think that the superintendent needs to be aware of the fact that we need more staff as it relates to special education. My grandson is in the 3rd grade at Reynolds, and I've been trying to get him a speech therapist the entire school year. They have no staff. They have not hired anyone. They've been interviewing. That's what they told me last year in December. And now school is out. So it just, he gets further behind without those resources. So that's a huge concern for me. And I think that the new superintendent needs to be aware of that. Special education dollars come from the federal government and they should be used accordingly. I feel like there is something going on with the money. I don't know what it is, but I would like to follow it. And my sister, I get on her nerves when I call her all the time or text, and I'm like, Sissy, what? And she's like, Donna, please stop. And then she reaches out to Justine, and they're all in uproar. But it frustrates me. It's like I'm glad that she has this platform and that we're both here today. But it's disheartening to think that that's big money. And why is it that we can't fill those positions? I have another concern with the fact that we cannot pay the staff that we have hired, but we have contracts where they pay those people probably double the money that the people that we're looking to hire, make. So it's kind of hard to say, okay, well, I'll take this job, but as a contractor, you could get, I'll quit tomorrow and make the money, especially if you have a spouse that has good benefits. It's like, I'm not working for the insurance. So that's a concern for me, especially because I have, firsthand experience with that. And my diagnostician, it serves two roles in my school in Reynolds and then works at another school too. That's just too much. And she's paid for all this education, but we won't pay her what she's worth. So if she quits tomorrow and goes to work as a contractor, so he or she needs to be aware of that. We need to allocate those dollars accordingly and make sure that we hire staff to support the students that need those services.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One more comment in the back.
Yes. We've talked about safety. One aspect I wanted to add was psychological safety. Thinking about the culture and the morale of the district. We talked about how sometimes there are issues that may be happening on the campus or as just across the district that may be unsavory, that may be harmful to teachers, to students, to staff, that may be against the district's vision or board policy, but individuals may be afraid to speak up for a variety of reasons. And so the superintendent should know that that is a challenge and that is something that they should actively work to rebuild a strong collaborative community across the district where teachers, students, staff, and community members feel that psychological safety, where they know that they will be empowered and supported to speak up regardless of what's going on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We are getting to we're nearing the end, and I will try to finish on time, but also honor the process. The last question we had was, what does the success of Spring ISD mean to your immediate community? What does the success of Spring ISD mean to you, to your immediate worldview? Whether it's a business, it's your church, your community, what does it mean to you? All right, if we could try to bring closure to your conversation. And just as a professional courtesy, I'm gonna try to finish right on time. So I may take 2 or 3 sharing out, and I'm gonna try to wrap the whole, 2-hour session here soon. So anyone would like to share out?
Yeah, sure, we'll go quick. So graduate empowered productive citizens, community business prospects for students, graduate students on time, students graduating and giving back to the communities, and students actually believing in the communities. That kind of goes with the last one, but that's definitely a sign.
Great.
Having strong schools, having good schools, it means that we'll have a strong and thriving community. We see things happening in our spring community, and one school of thought may think what happens in the community is driving what's happening in our schools, when really long term, what's happening in our schools drives what's happening in our community long term. When it's teaching and learning, and like the gentleman said, successful students graduate, they go off and they return, and they live here and they work here, and people want to live in a community that has good schools. So if we want to see our community thrive, it's important that our schools thrive.
Thank you. In the back?
Success for spring, if we can get at least 25% of students who have chosen to go to charter schools to come back to Spring ISD, that would be a big statement to say Spring ISD is the school, we are the school of choice. And that's success in not being a D or F school district.
One more comment from anyone? Anyone? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say, what's important to the district is also to have safer communities. I mean, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a parent, I'm an advocate for the schools, but if we have great schools that are good schools, we're going to have safer communities and people are going to want to come here. Secondly, our kids are the most important to our future and the country's future. You know, we want to make sure that those kids are given every chance and every opportunity so that when they leave here, not only are they good students, but they're going to be good citizens. They're going to be good leaders. And that's very important. The other thing is, you know, let's use a little bit of common sense. You know, obviously you're going to have some troublemakers in the school. And when I was going to school, which obviously was very different than where we are now, I was just telling Ms. Durant that, you know, if I walked up the street and I saw Ms. Johnson sitting on the porch and didn't speak to her, Ms. Johnson told my mom, and we know what the results were after that. So, you know, use some common sense in how we react to the kids. Don't be afraid. That's administrators and the superintendent. If we're gonna buckle down to every time we see something because we got some script written in the book saying we're supposed to do this or we're not supposed to do this, where's the common sense of how we react and how we deal with that kid? It's not going to happen in this school. That kid needs to understand that. And the parent who has that kid needs to understand that. This is a village. The superintendent, the board of trustees, the teachers, the parents, it's all a village. That's what's going to make this district strong. Last but not least, I want to make sure my property values stay high.
Madam President Durant, with your permission, I'd like to get everyone to say a few words. So those mics that are on, so 5 more minutes perhaps, if we're okay with that. Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'd just like to say that earlier you all talked about the community across from Westfield, Ellis Springs Assisted Living. And I have an opportunity from time to time to talk to some of the residents. And one of the things that they talk about is how they enjoy being in that facility. And it's because they have relationships with the community. And the community is involved. And they come in and they feel as though people care about them. And so I would say that one of the things that's important to the community that I'm in is that they feel proud to be a part of that community.
Thank you. One more comment in the back, and I think gentlemen over here, and then we'll try to wrap it up. Go ahead.
Continuing the conversation about the community, I think, and I've learned this from Ms. Trinita Carroll, that I know that we have success with the big corporations like ExxonMobil, Lone Star, and companies like that, organizations like that. But to think of a success of a community is getting back to the roots, I think. And that's connecting with our local businesses, our local organizations that are within the community. Because if that pride is there, if the students, let's say, for instance, Mr. Jason and his business in the local community with ePrint, if students are going to partner with a local organization, they're going to have pride in the work that they're putting into their community. So, and with that pride comes that sense of safety. So then it becomes a full circle. So I think if we don't ignore those small opportunities, because small opportunities become big opportunities, and in result give us our bigger vision, then that's going to help that connection. That's going to bring back that pride.
To feed off what she just said, we were saying the exact same thing as far as us, like teachers being involved with, well, school superintendent being involved with the school, with the community, where the actually going, man, I said it. Basically, like being more involved in the community, where the teachers and the parents and the businesses, they all working together, because the students, they are, I don't know. They want to learn, yeah. They want to, but everybody want to feel safe. But if they do better, they're doing good, and they're feeling safer in their schools, then it's helping the whole community, and you'll see it as a byproduct in the community of being a safe community, based off of what they're doing with school and interacting with everybody's partnering together in the community. But yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I used to often cite this. Years ago, Spring invited the state controller's office to come in. At the time, the state controller's office had a team that would come in and evaluate districts all over the state. And it wasn't punitive. It was just to come in and take a look, do it head to toe. And this might have been in the 90s, I forget now, but in their executive summary, they say that there's not a district in Texas like Spring. People look to Spring to see what Spring is doing. So we've got to get back to that, whether it's police pay, whether it's teacher pay, whether it's technology we've talked about, programming. You know, essentially, we want people to say, what are they doing over in Spring? Yeah, so.
Well, thank you so much. And just want to wrap us up. Want to thank you all for your participation. I was taking some notes throughout the process, and some of the things I wrote down were, this is a great collective impact strategy, meaning the kudos to the board and board president for gathering you all and bringing you to an input gathering process. It was very authentic, and I can sense the passion for kids and for your communities. I sense the love for kids, with something else I took notes of. And I wanted to make sure that if you did not feel heard today, Angel can still write up until midnight. Feel free to approach us, and we will gladly capture some of what you said. And for those of you that felt that we may not have captured it, be reminded that we're recording, so we always go back and look at all of what we have recorded. Yes?
You could also put it on a sticky note if you didn't want to share out loud. You put it on a sticky note and we can capture it.
I want to thank you again for these courageous conversations. Sometimes it's difficult to have these discussions, and I want to thank the board for being open to that discussion and for being part of the discussion. It takes a different type of leader to be humbled and be part of the discussion. And the last reminder is, on Monday, we will bring the draft themes that have emerged from our input gathering process, and you will have a working session helping us make sure we identify, based upon you as stakeholders, what are some of the emerging themes that we want to keep as we move forward. So I want to welcome you back on Monday so you can be an integral part of that. I yield back to Board President Durant.
Yes, I want to thank you guys. When we put our strategic plan together, we wanted to make sure that when we interview these candidates, that we're asking the questions that are most important to our constituents. So we met with all the principals last night. We have surveys out there. We've got our town halls. Region 4 is helping us to bring all that data together. But this is the committee that we handpicked the people that are here. And we want, on Monday night, they're gonna bring the themes from all the feedback that we've received, and we want you guys to really dive into the work with us to identify what are the things we really need to be looking for, so you will be a part of that on Monday. And I just really want to thank you all for being here and continuing to believe in us and support us through this process. Because when the principal said last night, we have so many good things happening, we're a diamond in the rough. We just need to be able to move the pieces around and get everything in the right place under this new superintendent so that we can soar. And as a board, we know we have got to get this decision right. We got to get it right, and we need your support in doing that. So I just want to say thank you. We're going to go into closed session, and I promise my colleagues we're not going to be here late tonight. We're going to go into a closed session. But what I'm going to do is take us into the closed session and then give a 5-minute break so we can bid our guests goodbye, and then we'll start the closed session in 5 minutes. So let me do the official thing here. The Board of Trustees will recess the open session and convene in a closed meeting in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.071 and 551.074. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of that discussion will only take place after we can reconvene in open session. And the time is now 8:10 p.m. We will now are you ready, Mike? We will now reconvene the open session of the Board of Trustees for the Spring Independent School District, and the time is now 8:56 p.m. Are there any motions?
No, Madam President, there are no motions.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move that we adjourn tonight's special call session of the Spring ISD Board of Trustees.
It's been moved by Trustee Hodges and seconded by Trustee Adams to adjourn tonight's meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously, and the meeting adjourns tonight at 8:57 p.m. Thank you, everybody.